Listen, I know baseball's in a lockout and MLB is trying to pretend that it doesn't know any of its players, so its website looks like a barren wasteland, but we're gonna keep talking about baseball, because that's what I do on this channel and that's what I'm good at. How about Austin Riley, third baseman for the Braves? He broke out in 2021, clubbing 30 home runs with a 131 weighted runs created plus, winning a World Series ring and making the All-MLB first team at third base. That's pretty good. Nolan Aronado, he etched another successful year into his illustrious career, winning his 9th Gold Glove in his 9-year career while smacking 34 home runs of his own. Or what about Willy Adames? He enjoyed a breakout season away from the Trop, becoming the most feared hitter on an impressive Brewers team while setting career highs in home runs and slugging percentage. All three of these players received accolades for their performances this past season, and they all got to play in playoff games for their successful teams. But you want to know the one thing they all have in common? According to Fangraphs wins above replacement, they're all worth just a teensy bit less than this guy, Nicky Lopez. Who? We should be talking about Nicky Lopez. First off, what a great name. Nicky Lopez hits the two-syllable first name and last name combo beautifully, and the name Nicky has got such youth to it. You know, maybe if he's a grizzled veteran of the league one day, he'll go by Nick or Nicholas. Probably not Nicholas, that's too sophisticated for a baseball player. Wait, we should be talking about Nicky Lopez's baseball talents, not his name. So who is he? Where does he even play? Oh right, he plays for the Kansas City Royals. Ugh. The Royals. Sorry if you're a Royals fan. I happen to be a Mets fan, if you didn't know already, so I kinda have a disdain for everything that the franchise represents, aka my pain and misery. But in all seriousness, this team has been stuck in a spell of mediocrity ever since climbing the mountaintop back in 2015. They've cycled managers, said goodbye to franchise faces, and are trying their best to turn a new leaf in the modern scene of MLB. Last offseason, the new ownership group at KC spent some serious dollars in free agency to try and excite fans and get them invested in a new core, while also supplementing that young core with proven talent and experience. I praised their offseason like many others, and even projected them to finish with a record near 500. And none of that really happened. The Royals actually got off to an electric start in April, going 16-9 and owning the best record in MLB. Since that point, they'd go 58-79 for the remainder of the season, battling injuries and playing struggling veterans in their twilights. It's hard to find a bright spot on this team, to be honest. They were 25th in MLB for weighted runs created plus, 11 points below league average, and they were dead last in walk percentage at 7.0%. They couldn't pitch very well either, with their starters placing 24th in MLB with a 4.97 cumulative ERA. Eesh. So here are the 2021 Royals in summation. Danny Duffy was really good until the Spider Tack debacle and an injury that plagued his season, and then the Royals just traded him out of nowhere. Josh Stalmont and Scott Barlow found some success in their late 20s, and Salvador Perez hit tons of homers. Like, a lot of them. Many home runs. And that's kind of it. Other than that, this 74-88 team fell into the same mediocre hole as the 5 teams that preceded them following that 2015 ring. If you're mad at me for being mean to the Royals, just rub the ring in my face and we'll be even. But you know what this Royals squad did pretty well that no one really cared about? They played good defense, some of the best in the league. Besides the ghastly defense at the hot corner from Hunter Dozier, sorry Hunter, every Royals qualified player managed an OAA total of at least -1. OAA is outs above average, and it's a stat that essentially measures the range of a fielder. And while many fielding stats aren't totally reliable or fine-tuned yet, OAA seems to be the best of the bunch. Now, -1 is not the prettiest number, it literally has the word negative in it, but playing around league average defense can be somewhat valuable if you can produce at the plate. But the thing is, the Royals' top guys on defense were special. How about Whit Merrifield? He's kind of been the face of the Royals for the past few years, and he's seemingly never missed a baseball game in his life dating back to when he was 5 years old. He managed to get 6 outs above average in 2021, tied for the 7th best value among all second basemen in the league. Not too shabby. What about Michael A. Taylor, who the Royals inked to a nice, comfy 2-year, $9 million deal? Well, his 14 outs above average led every single center fielder in MLB, and he nabbed a Gold Glove for his efforts. That's awesome. But guess what? It's not even the highest mark on his own team. That credit goes to Nicky Lopez. Hey, remember when this video was about him? He also led his position in outs above average over at shortstop. Now, I don't know if you watch baseball. I assume you do, or otherwise, why are you here? Go go somewhere else, but also stay if you're enjoying the video. But shortstop is a particularly hard position to play, so to lead every player in range for this category is quite the feat on its own. Nicky Lopez lost out on his Gold Glove to Carlos Correa, all-star playoff badass who is about to sign a deal for $1 kajillion zillion. That's an approximation. But here's the thing. Nicky Lopez registered double his outs above average, going from 12 to 24. 24 outs above average is what it took to outlast Francisco Lindor, Andrelton Simmons, Brandon Crawford, and every other shortstop. Not only that, 24 outs above average managed to outlast every single fielder in Major League Baseball. Nobody's got more range in the game than Nicky, and we should be talking about Nicky Lopez. But here's one of the crazier things about Nicky Lopez. He almost spent the year in AAA. Again, let me explain. Nicky had cups of coffee at the big league level in 2019 and 2020, and the Royals did have high hopes for him. After all, he at one point was their number 6 prospect in 2018, and he maintained a .378 on-base percentage and stellar defense throughout his years in the minor leagues. But in those aforementioned cups of coffee in 2019 and 2020, Lopez struggled despite his extended opportunity. In 594 plate appearances over those 2 seasons, what would be considered a full season's worth of plate appearances, Lopez cobbled together a paltry .278 on-base percentage and a 56 OPS plus, nearly 50 points below league average. Lopez had his amazing defense, but not much else. 2021 spring training was going to be a big moment for Nicky Lopez, and he was offered a shot to win the second baseman job and was considered the favorite. He had a chance to prove himself once again in spring training and make the opening day lineup. In 39 plate appearances in the spring, he slashed an astonishing 118 batting average, 231 on-base percentage, and 147 slugging, all of which were the worst marks of any qualified hitter in spring training. Now, preseason stats are almost entirely meaningless, but this nonetheless doomed Lopez to start the year in AAA Omaha. As a 26-year-old and a former highly ranked prospect, this screams bust. And it looked like he was heading down that track record until Alberto Mondesi hit the injured list the day before opening day on March 31st. Thus, the Royals' hand was forced, and Nicky Lopez made the opening day roster, and guess what? He wouldn't play a single game in AAA all season long. So how did Nicky manage to stay at the big league level? Well, in some aspects of his offense, it was business as usual in 2021. In the first half, he owned a .265 batting average and 0 home runs to his credit, but he was quietly tuning his gameplay up. In both April and June, he walked as many times as he struck out, causing his on-base percentage to eclipse to an impressive .350 mark in the first half. He stole 8 bases without being caught after going just 1 for 6 in the previous 2 seasons combined. He managed to hit above 300 with runners in scoring position as well. Lopez was finally tapping into some of that quote-unquote raw potential that scouts used to love making up about him, since the phrase has become a glorified buzzword at this point. Sorry, draft scouts. Then the second half hit. While the Royals stock plummeted, Nicky Lopez's stock was skyrocketing. He batted .339 in the second half, stealing 14 more bases, and he collected 18 extra base hits compared to 11 in the first half. He managed to finish the year a .300 hitter and even managed a 102 OPS plus despite only hitting 2 home runs on the year. How can a player manage an OPS plus above league average when they never hit for power? Well, a large reason for this is his new and improved plate discipline and walk rate. Meanwhile, the guy he originally replaced, Alberto Mondesi, stumbled his way through an injury-riddled season and lost the starting shortstop job. When Lopez was ranked the number 6 prospect in the Royal system in 2018, take a guess who was number 1 just 2 years prior. I think you might guess right, since I just said his name like 10 seconds ago. This isn't to rag on Mondesi, I think he's a fine player when he's healthy, but this is rather to praise Lopez and take a little laugh at how random prospect rankings can be at times. Sometimes certain skills that become essential to a player's game are developed way after their time in the minors. Take for example Lopez's swinging strike percentage of 6.0% in 2021. That was ranked 11th best in MLB and 2.5% lower from his total the year before. How about his out-of-zone swing rate of 28.2%, 3.5% lower than his mark from 2019. His zone contact rating of 92.8%, which was 10th in MLB, and overall contact rating of 86.5% was 13th in MLB. This made him one of the most sure-handed bats in the league. All this culminated in staggering changes for his whiff and strikeout rates. Lopez saw a negative 8.3% drop in strikeout percentage from 2020 to 2021. That was the 14th largest positive change in MLB between seasons. It's extremely hard to drop your strikeout rate that much between seasons, seasons, and that 13.1 strikeout percentage mark was 6th in MLB, tied with our good friend Raimel Tapia. You won't strike out nearly as much if you're not whiffing on any pitches, and Lopez figured this out in a big way. His negative 5.6% drop in whiff percentage from 2020 to 2021 was the 17th ranked differential in MLB as well. His walk rate still left something to be desired, but with improved contact and better discipline, Lopez's value as a hitter is rising rapidly, and it's really because he stopped getting in his own way, and I think that's really cool. The thing that's great about a player like Nicky Lopez is that it's not like he got any stronger or any more athletic than he already was. His barrel and hard hit percentages are consistent from 2020 to 2021. He's never going to hit home runs or slug all that well, but what he can now give you is a fine-tuned at-bat that'll probably end up in a walk or a ground ball single. Sprinkle in some stolen bases and, oh, I don't know, the best freaking defense in baseball, and you got yourself quite the valuable player. Perhaps more valuable than, say, I don't know, Austin Riley, Nolan Arenado, and Willie Adames. Nicky Lopez was able to reverse the trajectory of his career in 2021, and it was mostly because of plate discipline, taking better swings, and making as much contact as possible. But if we're being honest here and looking at the data, many expected metrics don't love Nicky Lopez, and we could very well see him regress going into next year. In 2021, he outperformed the expected values of his batting average, slugging percentage, and weighted on base average. And Steamer projections on Fangraphs have him regressing from a 4.4 Fangraphs WAR total in 2021 to a 1.9 Fangraphs WAR total in 2022, even with all that stellar defense. But you know what? Who cares? And I know that's a little bit hypocritical coming from me, the stats guy who makes videos about stats and why they matter. But for once, I'm not going to try to predict how this guy's going to perform, or tell you what he's doing wrong, or tell you if he's going to be good for your fantasy team next year. Hint, he probably won't. For once, you and I are just going to watch Nicky Lopez do what he does best: play defense and slap singles. Want to know why? Because I think Nicky Lopez is great, and I'm glad we're talking about him.